Hello people of YouTube. I just wanted to do a quick video on how to maintain our knives. Just taking them apart, cleaning them up, and making sure they go back together right and work perfectly.
Alright, so here's John's knife. As you can see, it's quite dirty and probably a little dirty inside. I'll just use it as an example though. Yeah. So what I use is a T10 Torx, and that's for the frame screws and like the clip and the thumb stud and all that. And then the pivot, I think it's technically a T9, but I can never get the T9 to fit in there very easily, so I just use a T8 because it seats all the way down and just seems easier. But either one would work. So yeah, I start by taking off the pivot. You can do it with the blade in or out. I actually like to keep it open just so it doesn't start resting on the titanium on the inside and maybe scratching it up if it's like a polished blade or something. So yeah, take the pivot out. I kind of like to hold it like this. And I usually just, like for maintaining, I usually just take off the lock side. And I don't know if you guys caught that, but gets a little stuck in there when you get everything off, so I just kind of pull up the lock bar, pull it out. The newer knives are actually, the tolerances are getting a lot tighter, so you kind of have to work at pulling it apart a little bit more than, say, these older ones from like a year ago or whatnot. But yeah, so now that it's apart, you can see gunk around the detent track there. And a big problem area, I guess, is, let me grab a Q-tip here, but in the stop pin groove is where like any problem you might have is going to come from. If there's like pocket lint or dirt or sand or anything that gets in the stop pin track, it'll seat there, and then the knife will not be able to either close all the way or it won't lock open properly. So that's why it's good to be able to take apart the knife and maintain it, just so you can clean out the stop pin. Make sure there's nothing in there that can hinder the flipping or the closing action. And yeah, so let's just wipe it down. I'm going to use some WD-40 actually to clean this gunk off the blade, because that seems to work quite well. And remember, be smart, don't cut yourself. I'm going to try to wipe away from you. Oops, kind of lost the camera there. But yeah, if you have any sense, you'll always keep the blade edge out from your hands. Anywho, alright, so just make sure everything's clean. I usually get inside the pivot too, just to, for good measure. And then make sure to wipe down in the pivot, of course, or yeah, in the bearing tracks, so there's no gunk in there. And actually also around the stop pin, because if there's any lint or stuff stuck on that, that'll also cause a problem. And if you guys are wondering, it's a Toy Story Band-Aid. Okay, and then last, do the lock side, and make sure to just get around the detent ball, because that attracts some dust and all that too. And last but not least, I like to take the bearings, we'll do it right there, and just on a clean paper towel, I kind of run them around a little bit, try to roll all the balls and get any sand or whatnot in there. Kryptonite. Every knife's weakness. Yeah, that's about all there is to cleaning. Now putting it back together, put the stop pin in. Now this one of course is an old one with a round stop pin head, so it kind of has a tendency to just keep on twisting. The newer knives, they've got flats on the side, so it only goes in, well, two directions, either head this way or head that way. So I hold the stop pin or the pivot pin in there, put the stop pin in, put a bearing in, and I use NanoOil. Label's a little messed up there, but I like this stuff a lot. And I just kind of put some everywhere. And then blade, more lube, bearing, and then this I do it with the blade halfway open so that I can rest the lock bar just kind of on the detent track as I put it together. And then I just squeeze so it all clicks onto both the spacers, because they have little shoulders on them, and the pivot pin. And then just get that pivot in. Whoops. Throwing stuff. Alright. And actually, should put some Loctite on the pivot, just so that doesn't, back out and loosen up in the future, because we don't like crank our knives down really hard, because we like them to still work. So what we do is we just put a bit of Loctite in, and this is the trick I've learned, so you don't put way too much on, because if you do, you'll never get it out, especially if you have a knife with the old style pivot pin, with the round one. I had Loctite on one of my knives, and it took me forever to try to, unscrew the pivot pin, because it just spun in the knife, the whole thing. So anyways, you just want to dab. So what I do, take the Loctite, put it on a little stick, like toothpick. I use a little titanium rod, because I had it sitting around. And I'm not sure if you can see that. There we go. It's just a little dab. A dab will do ya. And then I drop it in and just kind of rub it on the threads a little bit. And make sure you don't accidentally put it around the top, like if it rubs on there or something, because that could potentially get, down onto the pivot and lock the blade up, or just, all sorts of unsavory things. So yeah, a little bit there, and get this pivot back in. And when I'm tightening it, like I said, we don't crank it down. So I keep on twisting it back and forth until it feels like it's, you just contact. And then open it up, feel for blade play, still just a hair. So tighten it just a hair. Feel again, feels good. Works great. I probably forgot something, but I don't think so. So that's how you maintain a knife, a Norseman in particular. And just for a reference, the Loctite we use is Loctite 242 thread locker. And yeah, it's like a medium strength. You know, it doesn't lock them permanently, but it definitely keeps it in place for quite a while.